Well, good evening, my friends, and welcome back to another video from the Cumberland Outdoorsman. I'm out here at my shooting bench getting ready to feature another American classic. But before I get into this rifle, let me give you a little bit of history on what this gun is about and how it kind of originated. Back in 1860, Benjamin Tyler Henry developed the first lever-action rifle, and ever since then, lever actions have been very popular as truly American guns, even though now there are a lot of lever action rifles and reproduction lever action rifles that are made in other countries such as Italy and Brazil. However, the concept has always been truly an American concept. And due to popular demand, today I brought out this little lever action Henry Golden Boy in .22 long rifle. Now, the Henry Repeating Arms Company was founded in 1996 by Anthony and Louis Imperato in Brooklyn, New York. But ever since then, they have moved to Bayonne, New Jersey, and that's where they currently make rifles, shotguns, and revolvers. Now, let me just mention that the current Henry Repeating Arms Company does not produce an exact Henry replica from 1860. However, they make guns that look very much like those old guns, and they're quite attractive. This one here, like I mentioned, is brand new. It's never been fired. They come with these socks over the action so as to protect the finish. Anyway, we'll take that off and I'll give you a close view of this gun. The receiver is made out of brass light, which is not real brass. It's made to look like polished brass, and it holds its shine for a long time, a lot longer than real brass does. And the barrel is an octagonal barrel, all steel, blued steel that is, bluing on the magazine tube, the barrel, the hammer, the trigger, and the lever. Now, one thing I did notice about this gun is that when it locks up, you can hear it locking up and engaging very solidly. That's locked in full battery position. This particular rifle supposedly holds 16 rounds of .22 long rifle, and I think 18 rounds of .22 long and 21 rounds of .22 short. It has a 20-inch barrel. It has a traditional buckhorn rear sight. And the one thing I really like about this rear sight is it's very well made, and it has this diamond right here where you can center your front sight. The front sight is made out of steel, and it has a brass bead inserted into it right there so that you can get a good precise aim with open sights. And that's another reason that I wouldn't want to put a scope on this rifle. It wouldn't look too good on it. I think you would destroy the classic lines of this traditional lever action rifle, and it's just meant to be shot with open sights, in my opinion. Now, the rear sight is adjustable for elevation, and the front sight for windage. You can move it right or left, and then on the rear sight, as you can see, you can slide this up and down with different settings for elevation. And on the barrel, you can see here that it says Henry Repeating Arms, Bayonne, New Jersey. That's embossed, gold embossed engraving there with that traditional letter style. And then on the other side, you have the same letter style stating calibers .22 short, long, and long rifle. So you can shoot interchangeably. You can put some longs in there or some long rifles and some shorts and shoot them interchangeably. Shouldn't be a problem at all. The stock is made out of American black walnut, as you can see. It has a nice satin finish. Feels really good to the touch. The fore end is the same. It's a real American black walnut. And it should be a good shooting little gun. Now, let me just mention one thing that I don't particularly like about this gun, and that's that, when you get ready to take aim with this gun, you got to raise your head up above the comb of the stock here. In other words, my chin is the only thing that's really in contact for me to be able to acquire the sights. I like to have a comb that's higher where it actually engages my cheekbone right there. But if I do that, I'm looking right at the hammer there. Whereas the Marlin rifle that I've got, the Marlin Model 39A, when I hold it up and I'm looking right straight down the sights. Where with this one here, I have to raise my head. And I mean, no big deal, but it's just one thing that I personally don't like. I said it, there you have it. I'm just giving you an honest review. So now that I've given you my opinions on this gun, let me go ahead and take a few shots downrange, and let's see if we can group some shots into that target that I've got set up down there. And then after that, we'll take a few shots at 50 yards at the steel targets. So come along with me. Let's do a little shooting. Okay, as always, today we're going to be shooting these CCI standard velocity loads. This is a good target round, like I always mention, and it's been quite dependable. I'm just going to load 10 rounds into the tubular magazine here. As you can see, you just pull that tube out, and it's very easy to load these rifles, by the way. Just insert your rounds right here into this opening. Now I've already run a snake through the barrel before I came out here to make sure that there were no obstructions in the barrel, which is something that everyone should do for safety's sake. Just in case there was maybe a lot of heavy grease left in there from the factory, or inadvertently somebody put something in the barrel. You never know. So make sure the barrel's clear before you start shooting. And by the way, that's one of the rules of gun safety. Make sure there are no obstructions in the barrel. All right. Let's take a couple of shots here and we'll see where this gun is hitting. I don't even know if it's hitting high, low, to the left or right. Anyway, we'll get zoomed in here and we'll take a shot. Okay, that was the first shot out of this gun. I have no idea. Let's see. Okay, it looks like it's hitting high and to the left. So we need to bring it down. Okay, that's still off to the left a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and drift that front sight to the left, just a tad. Let me make that correction and I'll be right back with you. Well guys, here I am back the following afternoon, and the reason I had to do that is because I was running out of light and I ran into a little bit of difficulty in adjusting these sights. Those front sights on these rifles are really pressed in there hard. You know, they're in place very securely. So I had to use a brass drift and move it off to the left because I was shooting to the left. And then the rear sight, I made a discovery that this blade that's within this buckhorn sight right here actually has a little tiny set screw where you can get additional adjustment up and down to adjust the elevation. So I think I've got it set up pretty well now. I've got another target down here at 25 yards, and I want to take a few shots to make sure I'm fairly well centered up with these open sights, and then we'll have a little fun and shoot at the steel targets. So anyway, let me go ahead and get the magazine loaded up here. I'm just going to shoot 5 shots for right now. just to confirm that I've got the impact, bullet impact, where it should be. So let me get zoomed in on the target and we'll do a little more shooting. Okay, there's the target down there at 25 yards. Let's see if we can get a few rounds into that orange circle there, into that orange bullseye. I think it's still shooting a little bit high, just a tad, but I can adjust my hold for that. I am just a little bit lower on that shot. All right. Looks like it's still shooting just a tad bit to the left and a little bit high. So let me make a final adjustment and we'll try another 5-shot group. Okay, I went ahead and moved the rear sight actually. It's also adjustable for windage. And I think I've got it pretty well lined up, but we're going to take another 5-shot group. You can see where those 5 shots hit, just slightly to the left. Hopefully I didn't move it too far. We'll find out. Alright, that's pretty well centered up right there. Let me put up another target and we'll shoot another 5-shot group just to confirm that. Okay guys, I got 5 more rounds loaded up. I'm going to be shooting at the bottom target. Let's see where these land. Alright, that's pretty accurate right there. That should be right on at 50 yards. I got all 5 shots just above the bullseye, but in the orange. Okay, down there at 50 yards, we've got some targets set up. As you can see, the 3 usual targets, the 2 squirrels and the bunny rabbit. And then I've got some clay targets set up in front of those swinging targets. So let's take a few pot shots at those and see if we can bust a few of them. Alright, we'll go for that target right in the middle. Okay, now the one to the left. Then there's one that's kind of discolored on the right there. It's kind of faded, almost white. Kind of a pink color, really. All right. Now there's one on the far right. Let's see if we can bust that one. Well, I saw it move. All right. Let's come straight up and shoot that squirrel on the right. See if we can make a headshot on him. Okay, now the bunny rabbit. Well, I heard metal. Okay. Okay, we got a target at the bottom there, right under that squirrel. Okay, smacked it. Okay, back to that target. All right. Well, that shot cleaned it off. I still got some rounds left, but well, my friends, I think I got her pretty well dialed in. And by looking at this target that I shot at today, you can see that I was initially shooting a little bit off to the left and a tad high, which the height didn't really bother me. But then I overcorrected for windage and I was shooting way over to the right here. So I moved those sights back about halfway and I got it where it was hitting in the orange. And then finally I did shoot another 5-shot group and they all clustered right in here around the 1 o'clock position on that target. Still a little bit to the right, but pretty well on. Certainly good enough to shoot at those steel targets down there at 50 yards. I may go ahead and bump it just a little bit more to get it perfectly centered if I decide to take the gun hunting. But for now, I thought, that was good enough for this video. So, judging by that group right there, I can see that the gun has a lot of accuracy potential. And it's no wonder because it's made out of good quality material, And the gun is a kind of a hefty little rifle. It's just over 6 pounds because it's made out of metal and wood. It's just all good material. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you do decide to put a scope on your Golden Boy, you can remove this rear sight right here by backing off this set screw and then taking the rear sight off. You just have to drift that off with something softer than steel, maybe a brass hammer or lead hammer or something that you've got. Make sure you don't use a steel hammer because you will damage your gun. And then underneath here there are 2 bolt holes that are threaded. And you can order a cantilever scope mount that will go over the receiver here and you can mount an optic on here. And there will be no issues at all with the functionality of the gun because it is a side eject gun here. None of the brass will hit your scope. So that's a positive point that I really like about the gun. One more thing that I really kind of wish that they did is made the barrel just a little bit longer. This is a 20-inch barrel. It would be nice if it was a 22-inch barrel. That would kind of make it look a little bit more traditional, I would say. But, 20 inches is fine. You'll get plenty of power out of your 22 long rifle loads with a 20-inch barrel. But it gives you a longer sight radius if you have just a little bit longer barrel, which would make it a tad more accurate for the shooter, if you're going to use open sights. But either way, 20 inches is okay, but I would have rather had a little bit longer barrel, out to here, and you would get a higher capacity in your magazine here because they could lengthen the tubular magazine where you could get a few more rounds in there. Not that you absolutely need that, but it's just something that I could see would be more attractive to me personally. That's a personal choice. Another thing, just like I mentioned before, is that if I do decide to keep this gun, I think I'm going to invest in a cheek piece that I can mount on this stock here so as not to damage the stock. I would like to have a leather cheek piece so that the gun is rested against the pad of my cheek here. Because as you can see now, if I'm looking at the sights, I'm having to put the chin of my face here against the stock. Whereas with this Marlin Model 39A here, you can see there that the stock is right against the pad of my cheek and I'm looking directly down the sights. I mean, the gun just feels right to me when it's like that, you know. So that's an improvement that I would make. I brought this Marlin out here just to make that comparison. And, by the way, the barrel on this Marlin is full length. That just makes the gun balance a little bit better for my taste. Some folks like a shorter barrel. I mean, that's all fine and dandy, and it's kind of a sticky little point. You know, it doesn't really matter. But for me personally, I would have favored a little bit longer barrel. I do like the octagonal barrel. I really like that because it shows you that Henry was trying to, or Henry Repeating Arms was trying to pay attention and try to make these guns look more authentically old American, you know, the old Western carbines or rifles that were made back in the day that had octagonal barrels. And that's just an attractive addition to this little package right here. Another thing that I would like to mention is that the action is extremely smooth. And during my testing out here, I didn't have a single failure to feed, failure to fire, or failure to eject. The gun ran flawlessly. And it's very smooth, like I mentioned. I mean, it's just effortless. It's a lot of fun to shoot. If you like to shoot a 22 or any kind of rifle, you know, the Henry Golden Boy or other Henry lever action rifles, like some that I've tried in the past, are great rifles. They're very well made. They're made in the USA, and they'll last you for more than a lifetime. By the way, these can also be family heirlooms, something that you can pass down to your children or your grandchildren. So, you know, they're great guns, and I would say that the value of these guns is just going up as time goes on. So folks, with that being said, let me go ahead and close out this video and thank you for coming along. I do appreciate it very much. And remember, if you like to go hunting, fishing, camping, shooting, hiking, no matter what your outdoor pursuit happens to be, I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. But also remember this, hit that like button, smash the bell icon, and subscribe. That way you'll know when more videos like this one will be coming your way. So till next time, y'all take good care of yourselves, and God bless. I'll be seeing you.